lighting up the sky in the capital, Tehran, amid more exchanges of fire with Israel and the US, and satellite imagery showing the destruction at a US base in Saudi Arabia after it was hit in an Iranian drone attack, at least 10 American service members injured. Officials telling ABC News at least 2 were seriously wounded and at least 1 tanker damaged in the Friday attack. Altogether, more than 300 American troops have been injured and 13 killed as the war now enters its 5th week. And this morning, even more troops are on the way. Multiple US officials telling ABC News a 3rd US aircraft carrier, the USS George H.W. Bush, is heading to the Middle East. They'll join another 2,200 US Marines set to arrive in the region any day now. And with up to 1,500 paratroopers preparing to deploy too, questions mounting as to whether a ground operation into Iran is imminent. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio, speaking to G7 leaders in France on Friday, saying the US can reach its goals without putting boots on the ground.
And we can achieve them without any ground troops, without any.
Just hours later, President Trump speaking at a Saudi-backed investment conference, calling himself a peacemaker, praising the US-Israeli operation and saying the US is now, quote, just going after targets in Iran.
We have another 3,554 targets left, and that'll be done pretty quickly. And then at some point, we're going to have to determine what we do.
Overnight, Iran reporting more strikes on its nuclear facilities and steel factories. Video of the confirmed Israeli strikes posted on social media showing smoke billowing from one of the factories. Just hours later, Iran launching a fresh wave of retaliatory strikes on Israel. Video circulating online showing the moment of a missile impact in Tel Aviv. At least 1 person killed, a man in his 60s, and multiple others injured. While the death toll inside Iran climbs to at least 1,900. In southern Lebanon, where the IDF says it's widening its ground invasion to create a buffer zone against Iran-backed Hezbollah, more than 1,116 people killed, over 1 million displaced according to Lebanese authorities, the UN warning it's facing a humanitarian catastrophe.
This is insane. It looks like the 2030 depopulation agenda is full scale ahead. The United Nations is calling this a humanitarian crisis. New Zealand and Australia and the Philippines and other parts of Asia are all coming out to say that they are under a national alert, and Egypt has joined in as well, because Egypt says that they have a lockdown in force, a lockdown that looks like 2020, 2019, where you had a curfew. You can't go out after 6 p.m. Can't go out after 5 p.m. So let's break down in this video what this 2030 agenda is and why this war fits in perfectly with everything the elites have planned, so that you know why it's time for you to exit America. But you may also be in Europe. You may be in Northern Africa. You may be in Asia. It may also be time for you to exodus as well and to get to better grounds, such as Sub-Saharan Africa, Southern Africa, an island, somewhere that's going to be a little bit more sustainable in this chaotic future.
Yeah, it looks like it's not going to get any better. As you guys just saw in the video, they're sending troops. People are dying left and right, injured left and right. So it just looked like it's just going to get worse on both sides. You see, Israel hit a nuclear facility in Iran, then 2 hours later Iran struck back, and it's just like, oh wow, okay, this thing is just not getting better. So the question is, where are you going to be safe, to make sure that you are still going to be living properly? Because as my wife was just saying, Australia, the Philippines, pretty much everywhere, even this weekend I know they were protesting in America and stuff, in Europe. Like all around the world, they're protesting against this war, but it's happening. It looks like it's not slowing down. So the question is, hey, what are you gonna do about it? You really gotta think about that. Where are you gonna be when the war just continues to escalate? Because it's just gonna get worse. It's just gonna get worse, especially before 2030. Like, this is part of the plan. That's why we say, like, you have to have a set apart mind in a way. You got to step back and see the bigger picture. Don't try to focus on day to day. You have to focus on what is to come in the future, especially 2030. That's a year where as we see, it's playing out perfectly.
Now, all of this is happening with this war chaos going on. Iran is taunting America with their AI animations. America is telling lies to its people, and Americans, more than ever before, not only Americans, but Canadians, UKians, French people, are fleeing the West in record numbers to go to places like Southern Africa, Oceania, somewhere on an island, because they're like, look, I'd rather try to survive this thing out on an island than sit with this violence, sit with these gas prices, and sit with these crazy, insane leaders across the globe. Which brings us to the state of the diaspora, the 19th edition. See, we're already shockingly at 65% capacity, 4 people signed up almost simultaneously within a span of 2 hours this past Friday. And so if you have been looking at these videos, you're like, I see the state of the world. I know that my relocation has to be focused on geopolitical strategy, survival, and surviving on island nations or surviving in the southernmost tip of Africa. The state of the diaspora may be for you, because we have been having these cohorts over and over and over since 2024. It originally started with corruption indexes and the state of affairs for the diaspora that is in Africa. But now in times of war, we need to talk about geopolitical survival. Which nations are going to be neutral? Which nations are going to be stable? Which countries that have smaller economies that are actually going to be advantageous for you in the future, because it's much more easy to control sustainability, to have peace in smaller countries rather than living somewhere like America with 334 million people, Tanzania 65 million people, Madagascar 34 million people. Whenever you have millions and millions of people in one place, chaos shortly follows. So you want to consider this. Visit www.journeywithusmovetoafrica.com to see our resources and to see our philosophy, or just tap the link in the description to take one of the last 4 spots in the state of the diaspora, because we are talking with 12 serious expats. They could be entrepreneurs, they could be retirees, but the main thing they have in common is they have mature thinking. Same thing with the Mature Adult Intensive. Links are in the description. Once the spots are filled, that is it. Okay? Now listen. We have these wars. We have rumors of wars. We have plenty of Americans passing away. Plenty of Iranians passing away. School-age children passing away. Not to mention the upcoming famine that's going to cause starvation. Yeah. But this depopulation is not only about that. I actually have a few statistics that I think you need to hear from the World Bank, because listen to this. More than half of all countries are now below the replacement level of 2.1 births per woman. Okay? So most of the world cannot reproduce to ensure that their family's generation goes on to the next generation. Remember what happened culturally in America and Western societies? The whole, women only career moves, don't have children, don't get married. Well, these civilizations are going to pass away due to this.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's something that people have to think about when it comes to judgment too. Certain nations, they do get judged by not having children. They cannot repopulate. That's something serious.
Humans are important.
That is something serious right there. 2.1
you need
births
humanity
per woman.
Per woman.
You get what I'm saying? So that's important. Look at these countries where the birth rate is high. You get what I'm saying? Don't go to countries that, that's hard to say. That's hard to say.
That is hard to say, because there will be a benefit for those of you who are repopulating. Whenever there's a collapse in population and economics, it creates a new level of sustainability for the next people to come. This is why when empires collapse, they don't destroy the entire empire. They take over what already exists in that empire, and it's going to be the same thing. Mostly Africans and Indians are going to be repopulating the entire earth and deciding, hey, those old places in Spain, those old places in France, those old places in Japan, we're going to be the people who repopulate and take ownership. Now, another interesting one is about the U.S. The U.S. fertility rate hit a historic low. The U.S. sits around 1.6 births per woman. American women and men, listen up. If you think America is not under divine judgment, if you think everything's fine, just look at the average American. They're not married, they don't have children, and biblically, just from Genesis 1 to Genesis 2 to Genesis 3, you see the first command of being fruitful and multiplying and subduing the earth. So what happens when you have a rebellious spirit and you don't want to do that very, very simple command of being married and repopulating the earth? Well, you won't really have an earth to live on because you won't have any humans to populate that earth. You won't have anybody in your generations after you, right? That's crazy. And that comes from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on top of the war. All of this is happening on top of the war, just understand. Now next, China's population is also declining. China recorded its first population decline in over 60 years, and the drop is accelerating thanks to the National Bureau of Statistics of China for that, because China used to be a place that had lots and lots and lots of children. People were getting married, but then they implemented a rule that seemed like it took it too far. Yeah. There was only allowed to be one child per household. And so unfortunately, it's going to be hard to de-accelerate the depopulation. Japan is also shrinking very rapidly. Japan loses 500,000 people per year, with one of the oldest populations on earth. The source for that is the Statistics Bureau of Japan. Then we have Europe, okay? Europe is aging fast. By 2050, nearly 30% of Europe will be over age 55. And some people see these statistics and they're like, great, well, people are living longer. That's fantastic. But if you don't have any younger people to replace those older people once they pass away, it's a very, very bad thing that's happening in these Western civilizations, and these civilizations that have colonized the world, these civilizations that have just wreaked havoc all over the earth. But you just don't see this type of thing happening on the continent of Africa or in India as much.
Yeah, this is something. This is why once you think about it, yes, they understand what's happening with depopulation. They understand that they want to replace humans with robots. So this is why AI is very important to the people that invest in it and really wanted to implement into everything. So you got to think, just how I was just listening to that. I'm like, dang, that's why they want AI. They want AI everything because they see the earth is not repopulating. Societies are not repopulating. Economies can't hold up. Just how my wife was just saying, was it Europe with 55 or older? So when they retire and really can't work, who's going to work? Robots, AI and stuff.
Who's going to buy stuff? Who's going to operate the society?
Exactly. So
who's going to be planting food?
Exactly. Look, this is why we say, they're not going to stop. It's just going to get worse. Whatever they want to do, they're going to try to do it. God willing, he will make a way for the people that listen and have discernment and wisdom to know where to go and where to be in these situations, because this is obviously what they want.
Yeah, they did a great job at it. They had the pandemic at first, and the pandemic worked wonders as the first test drive. Yeah. But now that they have seen that most humans on Earth are not critical thinkers, will not question what the government tells them, and have no sense of stability in their mindset, and overly depend on the government or the US or the UN or the World Health Organization as a type of God, they know that they can put almost anything out there, and people like sheep to the slaughter will just go along with it. Not following the true shepherd, but following a goat to the slaughter. Now, food systems are tightening because global food demand is projected to rise by 50 to 60% as we reach the year 2050. While supply chains face great instability. Obviously, the war is going to produce this earlier with the famine that's going to happen, because when we talk about global supply chains, the real word that you're afraid to use for global supply chain shortages is the very brutal word famine, because famine makes you think of hunger, starvation. Famine puts you in a different mindset than this elevated cutesy word of, oh, the global supply chain is at risk. This is famine. This is literally a spirit of famine hits the entire earth, and there are only going to be 1 to 2 places to go on the continent of Africa, just like it was in Genesis, where you're going to be able to have food resources. Okay, next we have migration. Migration is increasing under pressure. There are over 280 million international migrants globally, which is a number rising. Now, a lot of this started with people migrating to the West, but most recently, it has been Westerners migrating out of America, out of Canada, out of the UK, Germany, France. All of these Western nations are now coming in April 2026 to say our people are fleeing en masse. While we're getting immigrants out, the actual people that have lived here for generations and generations are fleeing as well. What are we supposed to do? Maybe the robots can pay taxes as well, right? So the last statistic we need to talk about is the population collapse. This is now a mainstream concern, that the entire earth can go through a population collapse, which literally is biblical, because in the book of Revelations, it says 1/3 of the earth will perish from famine, from sword, from everything that comes on the earth. And there will be a small remnant of people that is still alive. McKinsey and Company and other firms have warned that shrinking populations can reduce gross domestic product, so wealth growth, and strain economies long term. This is the 2030 agenda. They have been successful in this agenda. It took a lot of things. It took birth control. It took destroying the value of marriage. It took destroying the value of children. It took people not seeing the Bible as something to really follow and listen to, as something that's cutesy, that you just pick up when it's right for you and then you put it back down and you don't really follow the instructions. But this is the end game. This is what you get in a world that does not value the same things that the Bible values. Just in Genesis alone, you can see where the rebellion and the disobedience will totally decimate humanity. But John the Revelator prophesied it in Revelations, and it has to happen. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of where you're going to be on the side of the end times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and delayed obedience is still disobedience. So do not delay. Do not delay in every way that you're going to go. You have to do it now. This is what we try to tell people. Just how I was just on a call, when was it? Friday, with a client, and you know her mindset was there, but she just needed some motivation of, you know, speaking like, hey, you got to do this. You got to do this. I know you need to figure out finances, like an online thing and stuff. And I'm telling her, did you look on like ChatGPT, something, just type something in and it should bring up something. No, I never used ChatGPT. I'm like, no, get on it. Use it as a tool. Stop thinking like everything is just totally like against you. You have to use these things as tools. You have to learn how to not get your emotions too involved, because once that happened, I'm pretty sure you would just sit in the field, in the sun somewhere and don't do nothing. Like when you start to think about the whole world, though, yes, the world is evil. It's a lot of evil around. It's a lot of things that goes against what, you know, the Most High be saying in the Word. But some of these things you have to use as a tool. If the Most High don't just shut it down automatically, I'm pretty sure he is allowing these things to happen for a reason. And some people, they just be so stagnant, but you got to get on it. You can't delay. You really can't delay. So just how I was talking about the AI stuff and the data centers and things like that, don't use those things as tools. Use those things as tools. Don't think about it too much. You got to use it so you will be able to see this on the other side. Like everything that's happening right now with this depopulation and wars and nation rises against nation, you got to use certain things as tools so you can so you will survive this and be on the other side of this. Because it's not time to delay, guys. It's really not. It's time to get on it and stay on it so you will be good.
Yeah, I think that's it for this video. Shalom, shalom. We'll see you in the next one. Stay aware, stay discerning, and
Stay
Pay
safe.
attention to what's going to help you move the needle in your life. Pay attention to what's happening in the States. Pay attention to Iranian media. Don't just watch US media. Don't just watch Western media. Get the full understanding of what's going on so that you know how to pivot and build a legacy for your family in this time. Because the only people that are going to be surviving are those that even have an interest in saving the legacy of the generations after them. We'll see you in the
good.
next video.
Shalom.